You are now listening to the A2J2 podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to a special edition of the A2J2 podcast. Tonight we are J3-The. The three J's are hanging out.
I thought
Me, Jordan.
I thought cubed was 4.
It is 4.
It's 3. No, it isn't.
Wait.
This guy's a
I guess me and
history
Jarrod
teacher.
are just,
This guy's a
Me and
history
Jarrod,
teacher. I don't trust him.
we're just dumb, Jarrod. It's
Hold
fine.
on.
No, you can look it up. You're probably right.
We're fine.
Don't prove us wrong, please.
I'm doing it live. What is the cubed symbol? It's a 3. Suck it. All right. So anyway, J3 is coming at you tonight. Me, Jordan, producer Jarrod, and like I said, we are going to talk a little bit of sports on the back end of this episode, but we have something different. We're going to talk about music tonight. Last week, my favorite artist of all time, one Mr. Scott Cudi, Kid Cudi, came out with another album called Insano, and I've seen people making their top 10 lists of his songs online. So the original idea was to all make our own top 10 Kid Cudi songs, but then I'll let Jarrod tell you what we're actually going to do because it is his brainchild and it was a wonderful idea.
So, as a producer of this show that I haven't had to produce for a couple of months, I came up with the idea of, since it's a sports podcast, like picking our top 10 songs is cool and we could talk about it, but then I feel like that'll end up being like a 2-hour long podcast at that point if we sit there and like go over, and then we'll also like probably have some of the same songs. So the idea that I came up with was that we actually do a snake draft. So we're going to be drafting our favorite Kid Cudi songs. We're all going to draft 5 songs. And then what we'll do at the end is we'll talk about some songs that maybe didn't make our list or, things like that. But we'll also kind of compare each other's top 5s and then decide like who we think like has the best 5. So it'd be like, who do you think, like if you saw Kid Cudi in concert and he only did 5 songs, like who has the best list of those 5? Now features, stuff like that, features and collabs count. So that's, something to be in play here. And then too, if you're watching it, if you've listened to Kid Cudi, you know about Kid Cudi, let us know like who you think has the best top 5 after the snake draft. So since Jordan has not listened to a lot of Kid Cudi, James has listened to probably too much Kid Cudi, and I've listened to the appropriate amount of Kid Cudi. Jordan's going to go first in the snake draft. I'm going to go second. James is going to go third. And that means in the second round, James is going to go first, I'll go second, and Jordan will go last. So we'll kind of go back and forth on the snake draft, back and forth that way.
So let me interject and say that my top 5 that I draft will probably not be the best top 5 because I'm going off personal preference. I'm not a big Kid Cudi guy. I did have a Kid Cudi phase. I've had a lot of phases. My Kid Cudi phase, I don't remember a lot of it. It was years and years ago, so let's just call it what it is. But I'm looking forward to it because it's kind of going to be a blast from the past for me because a lot of these songs that I have on here are stuff from my college days, our college days. And so I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a nice little twist.
And we are going to talk sports too towards the end of the podcast. Right. After we have the draft, we are going to talk sports. So if you're here for the sports, I'll edit in a timestamp right here if you just want to skip to the sports team.
I have a pretty big announcement, as you can probably already see, but we'll go over that. We'll get to that later.
We will. But before we start the draft, I'll say that doing something like this definitely can like reach a bigger audience. I know that there are people that probably at least see this podcast when it's posted on people's stories and things like that, and they're like, I don't care about sports. But if you like rap music, if you like Kid Cudi, first of all, you are a person of culture. And second of all, this is for you. So if you're one of those people, we're glad to have you. And if you're one of our regular listeners, maybe, don't skip to the end and be educated on some really good songs and maybe add some to your arsenal. Jarrod, I want to ask you this before we get started. This isn't going to change my selection or anything, but whenever we say our top 5 Kid Cudi songs, obviously that's our preference, but also with the collabs, are we assuming that if it's like what we want to see in concert, that the features, those people are with him too?
Of course.
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
I think that
You have
that's a fair assumption. Now,
Uh,
granted, the biggest collab that I know of, at least for Kid Cudi, is obviously Kid See Ghost.
mhm.
Um, would I, at this moment in time, given this culture that we're in, want to see Kanye West live? Probably not.
Right. No, that's
I
fair.
probably wouldn't buy a ticket to a Kanye West concert. But I think what I in my mind when I was making this list that I was making, it was like I have to be able to differentiate the artist from the music, like from the
Yeah.
art at some point in time, because like when Kids See Ghost came out, what year was that? That was like 2018-ish, somewhere around in
Yeah,
there.
it came out right before I got married.
It wasn't like Kanye didn't have the stigma that he has against him now.
Right.
So I feel
Sure.
like trying to separate, and I mean, like I said, if we're just talking, collab, that's going to be like the main collab, obviously,
Yeah.
for Kid Cudi. And that's why I'm kind of like calling out Kanye. But I just want to say, I speak for myself here. I'm sure the other two would agree. I don't condone Kanye West. I don't
Sure.
condone what he does or
I think we
says.
I think we have to nix out all of the political stuff though, and just
Yeah.
consider the fact that like if we're talking about a song that has someone else on it, that person's just jumping on stage for that one song and they walk off the stage.
Sure.
And so,
Right.
You're seeing them perform together.
Or
That's kind of
they
my
or
process
they
on it.
even just play a backing track of
Yeah.
whoever it is, and
Yeah,
Like-
that would be fine too. Yeah.
But I
Mhm.
think
Yeah.
I think if we're talking like for collab purposes, or if he has somebody else on a track, you can think of it as they're either at the concert with him or it's a part of the backing track. So I mean that's kind of like your own thing, however you want to go with that.
Right. Cool. All right. Well, Jordan, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
I'm gonna go a different route with mine because again, I'm not a big Kid Cudi guy, but this song, man, when it came out, I think I was probably just out of college. I think is when this song came out. I think James,
It was
correct
our
me if I'm wrong. You know where I'm going with
junior year
that. Okay,
of
it
college.
was late. Yeah, I'm thinking that because I lived at home. I didn't live on the campus,
Mhm.
so that's why I was thinking that way. But for me, the best Kid Cudi song, in my opinion, and my first overall pick is going to be "Bees" featuring RZA off of Indicud. I think that on that song, the beat by itself is phenomenal. Like that makes the song. When you listen to that with your bass turned all the way up in your car or truck, whatever, it is unreal. And obviously RZA goes so hard in that song. But
Mhm.
it's literally like for me, it is the music behind the lyrics to me that makes that song so good because I mean, again, those beats go so hard, and that's Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
And so
It's
for
it's
me,
a it's a classic Cuddy beat.
That's a
The
good first
sense
round
of-
pick in my
Yeah.
opinion.
so
Yeah, I think
yeah,
it's
that's
good.
what I'm going with. And again, it's personal preference. If I were to say that that's his best song ever, I don't think that that's right. I wouldn't agree with that. It's my favorite song ever, and that's why I'm taking the number one.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything wrong with like picking the song that you like the most from the artist. I mean, I've done that with a lot of mine. Now, some of mine obviously are some of his more mainstream stuff, but a
Mhm.
lot of like going through and listening was like, what do I already have like in a playlist or in my likes that is mostly Kid Cudi, and then like which ones do I tend to gravitate towards more, or which
Right.
ones do I tend to skip more, kind of thing.
Sure, yeah. And that's one thing. I never skip beats. That song comes on,
Never.
it is straight up like I turn it way up.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good first round pick right there. Now,
Word. It's on you, buddy.
my first round pick. I could go a couple of different ways here. I could steal James's first round pick. I believe I know what James's first round pick is.
Okay, well, go ahead and say what you think it's going to be, because I'm curious if you know
No,
it
no,
or
no.
not.
It'll be his reaction if I pick the song
Okay.
he unless he picks it.
Unless you pick it.
I'm not gonna pick it because I kind of wanna go where Jordan's going for the first round, at least, of like a song that really meant a lot to me when I first heard it. Like it was a song that a lot of Cudi songs for me are like songs that have helped me through something, or I've been like dealing with something and I've been able to relate to part of the song. And it's like one of those things that's like always brought me to my knees and made me like really sad, but also like it's like something nice to help get me through it. It's kind of like Tyler the Creator, the Wolf album. But
Yeah.
my first pick, Mr. Rager, one of my favorite songs. I mean, brings me almost tears in my eye every single time that I listen to it. It's beautiful. It's got hums. It's got a good beat. Cudi is just like a god with vocals on the entire track. It's one of those, like I said, that I just never skip. If it comes on, it's not getting skipped. I'm singing it word for word, and I love it.
You know,
Yeah,
the
it's
funny
hard.
thing, the funny thing is that's the one that I picked that I thought James. That's the one I thought he would pick.
Now I know James is, and it's off of that album, that the shirt that he's wearing right
It
now.
is. Mr. Rager though is a great song. Flashback to this summer when we were down in Atlanta for Austin's bachelor party,
Yeah.
and all of us in your mom's car just screaming
Screaming it.
Mr. Rager.
Yep.
I mean, it's and the music video for that song is so
Oh, yeah.
powerful, where he's like killing the old hymn, and the new hymn is a dude. It's nuts.
beautiful.
It is for sure. You know, you can't make a Kid Cudi list and not include Mr. Rager.
No.
And I'm glad that you took it in the first round, because I wasn't going to, but it deserves to be a first round pick.
I was afraid that if I didn't take it first round, you were coming for it second round.
I was.
I knew like you would hit your first one, and then your back to back would be that, and I would be in a little bit of trouble there for my first
Yes.
pick.
Yeah, I probably would have scooped it up and with my first pick in the second round. My first round pick is probably my favorite song ever. It's a song that I loved even before I saw Cudi in concert. But then when I saw him in concert and he performed this song, and I was with like the whole Cud fam, and we were at an outdoor amphitheater, and it was a warm night, and he was just killing it. I cried. I'm not even gonna lie. It brought me to tears being there. I couldn't believe that I was there. My number one pick is Cudi's Own.
See, I would never guess that.
For me, it was in between Cudi's Own and Alive. Both of those were like, that's gonna be James's number one right there.
I love Alive. In my notes, I didn't put it down. It's a great song, but I was trying to. When I was doing my notes today, I was taking like a few songs off of all of his projects that are like near and dear to my heart. The new album I like, Insano. I mean, it's different. You can tell he's happy now, which is awesome. I'm really glad that he's happy and he's having a good time. And when he announces his tour dates, I definitely want to go see him. But like, I didn't include it. I didn't include Intergalactic, and I didn't include Speeding Bullet to Heaven because personally, I did not like Speeding Bullet to Heaven. My second round pick, I'm going to go back even further. I'm going to go before the original Man on the Moon to a kid named Cudi. And I'm going to draft a song that I know a lot of people really liked at a certain point in time. And it's a song that really kind of hits you in the heart when you think about what he's saying. My second round pick is The Prayer off of a kid named Cudi.
That's a good pick too. That's a great second round pick right there. For me,
Yeah, first round value, really.
For me, I hadn't started listening to Kid Cudi at that point yet, and so like I haven't listened to a ton of Kid Named Cudi, but it's still a great second round pick right there. That's a steal.
I mean, it's a song that like whenever people ask you, especially people like closer to my age, closer to our age, not like my students now, when you would tell them that, you know, you were a big Kid Cudi fan, they'd be like, oh, I love The Prayer. Like that was, and it's not even Day and Night, which of course is the song that really blew up his career. So it's still powerful. I listened to it today on the way home from school, and it's a banger.
So my second round pick, I'm going to go with the song that James actually showed me and introduced me to Cudi with. I don't know if you remember what song it is, James, but you showed me this album and this song, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And I'm going with Just What I Am.
Yeah, it's a great pick.
It's a beautiful song. That whole album is great, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like I said, that was my intro to Cudi, and then when I just started listening more and more discography, I mean, a lot of my music taste, especially from a younger age, in this kind of realm of music, came from James. So I, you know, when you showed me Just What I Am, like that set me on a different path for many, many years.
Dude, Just What I Am, Cudi's verse on Just What I Am, I think is one of his best.
Yeah.
Just bar for bar.
It's
kills
so good.
it.
It's so good.
It's incredible. And King Chip always does a good job with him.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw Cudi in concert, King Chip came out and performed that song with Cudi. It was on the Indicud tour, so it was it was live.
Very good.
So my second round pick, I'm going to go with a song that I remember many a time sitting in a beanbag chair, just vibing to this song. And I mean, just zoning out completely, forgetting everything that's going on in the world and just feeling the music and the lyricism of this song. This is like college days. This is 10 years after college days. I mean, this is, to me, this song is timeless. I'm going with Trapped in My Mind.
Oh, it's a great song.
Love that song. Again, it goes so like hard to me. And when that song is on, it feels like nothing else is existing, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I feel like a lot
and
of Cudi songs are kind of like that, where it's a
Mhm.
lot of them have that vibe to it, where it's like you're listening to it, but like you're kind of listening to it, but you're kind of zoning out, and then you're kind of like getting this like euphoric, like floating feeling almost.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and like when you really think about it, like when he says "Trapped in my mind, I'm going crazy," hey, it's not that bad at all. That's kind of exactly what he wants you to be doing whenever you're
What he
listening
wants
to
you to
that
go
song.
through.
Sure.
Yeah. It's like when
It
he's singing
sounds
those
like
lyrics, you're
what
going
he's
through.
saying. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another song where the lyrics and the feel of the song
Mhm.
match so perfectly.
I would
It also
completely.
reminds me of Levi.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these are going to remind me of Levi. But
Yeah.
my third pick is one that you all talk about songs that mean something to you. This song means something to me, and I know it means something to James too. The lyricism in the song is really deep, and to me, I love the song "Brothers."
Yeah.
I love this song, and I think that anybody who has a strong male friendship with anyone, best friends, best friend groups, whatever, can relate to the things that he says in this song. Um, and I know, James, you thought about getting a tattoo of something that he said in that song, right?
Yeah.
And
The brothers that I never had made my life a lot less sad.
exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, it's just one of those things that, you go through a bad breakup, you're going through a death in the family, whatever. Your brothers, they always have your back. In moments like that, you listen to that song and it speaks to you, in my opinion. And I love that song.
And there's multiple good features on that song. ASAP is really good on that song.
Mm-hmm.
Chip's on that song. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So for my third round pick, I'm going with a collab. Now, I did not know that Kid See Ghost was even a thing for the longest time. I missed it being released somehow, and was hanging out with my good friend CJ. Shout out CJ. In his basement.
Dub Sevens for life.
Always. We were listening to music in his garage one night, just letting kind of Spotify, play random stuff. And one of the songs from Kid See Ghost came on. I think it was Fourth Dimension. And I was like, what is this? Like, this is a Kanye beat. Like, who's about to start rapping? And then Kanye came on it. And then Cudi had a verse on it. And I was like, what is Kid See Ghost? So then I looked into it. And then I was going through kind of a rough stage in my life at that point in time. And when Reborn came on, I cried my eyes out. I drove home that night. I listened to it 1,000 times, and every single time when Cudi comes on and starts, just like basically telling you everything's going to be okay. Like you're able to keep doing what you're doing. You're able to be reborn. You're feeling, you know what I mean? Like that feeling of Cudi on that song, like still makes me tear up. Like it's one of my favorite like all time songs, and I hate that, like, again, the whole Kanye thing, but, like, Kid See Ghost is such a good album and so, like, formative. I think Kid See Ghost is also a cool album because you can go through listening it and pick out, like, okay, this is a Cudi-style beat, this is a Kanye-style beat, and then watching them go back and forth together on the tracks.
I mean, yeah, no, if you wouldn't have picked it, I was going to take it. I'm with you. We've talked about that before. Reborn came out right before I got married. It was a very exciting time, but it was also like a very stressful time. Trying to, of course, she did everything to make sure it went smoothly, but like I was stressed. And Kid See Ghost comes out like a week or two before we get married, and I'm driving. I was working a summer job that summer to try to make sure that we had enough money for our honeymoon. And I played the first time I listened to that song, I had to pull over on the side of the road because like it hit me so hard. His voice is just so soft, like especially when he comes with it in his verse. Like he starts off with the hums, which is what his calling card is, but then his actual verse, when he just comes in way softer than he is on the, oh dude, it's
so good.
I got chills.
Yeah,
Got chills thinking about it.
It's a really like it's an important song in Cudi's discography, if you ask me. Like,
Absolutely. My third round pick. This is so funny story. The first time I ever heard a Kid Cudi song, it was a 2-hour delay. Jordan had stayed at my house the night before, and he did not have a car yet. And we were driving to Sullivan South High School, and Day and Night came on the radio, and I did not like it. I just didn't like it. I was like, "What the? Who is
remember
Kid
the first
Cudi?"
thing you said was, "What is this song? Like, what
Yeah,
is?"
like it was just. I was like, I'm not a fan. And then I heard it a few more times and I liked it. So I bought the album. I bought Man on the Moon, and I listened to it a lot, and I enjoyed it. I'm not picking Day and Night either. That was just my introduction to him. Started listening to it a lot. My parents got divorced at the beginning of the second semester of my senior year, and it was something that I was obviously very, very hurt, and it hurt me. And I remember just going upstairs and getting on our computer and putting Man on the Moon on. And when Soundtrack to My Life came on, it was like he was speaking what I felt. It hit me really hard, and to this day I can't not feel those feelings. And it felt like somebody that had never met me had my back. And at that moment, he's been my favorite artist ever since then. So it would be a disservice if I did not have Soundtrack to My Life on my list.
I think that's a great pick. The reasons that you picked it are beautiful, and I think I'm surprised it didn't go earlier, if I'm honest. You know what I mean? That's that's a first or second round pick right there for me. But I love the story behind it. I love the reasoning behind it. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, it's a great song for sure. So now we start to get down to where you're in a situation like those are, and some of the songs that have been picked by you all are songs that you're like you have to have
for sure.
But now we're getting into an area where I'm really glad that I have notes, and I think I'm going to go in a little bit different direction with pick number 4. It's a song that's not nearly as popular as the other songs that I've picked. It's off of his album Passion, Pain, and Demon Slain. It's a great album. And in my opinion, the best song on that album is By Design, featuring Andre 3000.
You piece of crap. I was going there next. I had it. I was queued up. I was ready to go. I was cooking last night, listened to that song again, and I was like, oh my God, like this is such a good song. The vibes, the feeling of that song, unmatched.
Oh, it's the beat, and then him and Andre going back and forth.
For sure.
Oh my God. So good.
I wouldn't say that's the only good song on that album, though.
No. I said it's the best song on that album.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I'm going to also go a little bit of a different direction for my pick in this 4th round. I know this is like an album that I didn't necessarily like at first, and then I talked to James more about it. I listened to it more, and then I ended up liking it a little bit more. But, a lot of mine that I've picked have been kind of like, meaningful or sad or, whatever it is. But there's not a time that I can be driving my car that the Pale Moonlight comes on that it doesn't absolutely turn me up and like get me ready for whatever. Like as soon as he comes on the track, it's Hear Me Out, and it's like, oh man, I just go crazy for that song. That's one for me.
I feel like Man on the Moon 3 is slept on in his discography just because of how good the first 2 Man on the Moons are.
Right.
But if you listen to Man on the Moon 3 and you can put like your bias aside, because I have that problem. Like whenever Insano came out, I was like, this isn't Man on the Moon, but like it's so good. There's so many good songs on that album. So
I feel like
it deserves some more.
I feel like there's a lot of artists like that like we listened to when we were younger, like, college or high school years that were making, music of that time that are still releasing music now that like we're kind of like, like I'm not really. It's like for me, it's always like I use the explanation of like Tyler the Creator, and it's like when Wolf came out, it was like the best thing to ever happen to me, and it was like I'm listening.
Goblin was better though.
Goblin was not better.
I like Goblin better too, but
Goblin was better.
But it's your own personal opinion and like what you were going through at the time. Like when Goblin came out, we were in we were in college and
We were
being
making big
stupid.
mistakes.
Right.
Real quick.
So like it was perfect. So like for you, Wolf, whenever it talks about like the things that it talks about,
Right.
for sure, like I get it 100%.
Which we
Like
can't
it's a
talk
great
about
album.
this podcast.
But then you look at that and you look at like Igor and how much it's changed over time.
Yeah, I would even say like for me it was like Wolf was such a like formative album for me, and then I listened to Cherry Bomb and was like,
Yeah.
this is not like the guy, like this is not who I love. And Igor, actually I really liked that album. I thought, at first
Yeah.
I didn't like it, and then I spent more time with it, and I like it's one of those things that you have to realize like over time, obviously an artist is going to progress, they're going to get different, they're going to do other things, and you should be, as a listener, happy for that. And like you shouldn't want every album to sound like exactly like your favorite album, because then what the heck's the point of like making new albums?
Yep.
But
Very good point.
But yeah, Man on the Moon 3 actually has some like really, really heaters on there.
Yes.
All right, Jordan,
So-
fourth round.
My fourth round, I'm going to go in a completely different route than what you all went. I'm going with something that I feel like something. Yeah, I'm going with a punter. I feel like this is a song that probably should have been taken earlier, but maybe isn't taken earlier for specific reasons. It is probably, arguably, his most popular song. It's up there, 1, 2, 3, got to be. I'm going with "Erase Me" featuring Kanye. I mean, look, that song went so hard, and when you talk about Kid Cudi, there's no way you can't talk about "Erase Me."
For sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's not the song that put him on the map, but it might have been his biggest banger when you talk about reaching audiences long and wide.
For sure.
And honestly, can you say that it was because of Kanye? His name, maybe, but Kid Cudi is what made that song what it was. And say what you want about Kanye, he goes hard in that song. That song was, it was a great song. So I can't pass that up.
I had that as my third round pick, but I skipped over it, and
I can't pass up on that in the fourth round. I just can't.
I was afraid somebody was gonna get it, and you said, is that song made because of Kanye? And like Kanye's verse is good, but Cudi bodies him on that song.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's-
Oh,
For me, there's no comparison. Like Kanye gets bodied on that song.
But here's the thing. Kanye doesn't make the song, but he adds to the
completes it.
song. So
Oh,
without
yeah.
him, that song is mid.
For
It's
sure.
good. It's mid on Kid Cudi's tracks.
For sure.
It's the combination of both of them together. It just combines so well, and it's just unfortunate that Kanye is where he is now. But because in that time, man, that song is just.
I feel like
I mean,
without that song, you don't get Kid See Ghost. Like without
No.
that
Yeah,
early
no.
collaboration, you don't get Kid See Ghost.
Yeah,
And most of 808s and Heartbreak was like produced by Cudi. Like that's why that sound became a thing, and like that album, Cudi producing that album is really what kind of opened the door for him to do his own thing.
For sure.
yeah.
So their relationship has done a lot. I know Kanye's problematic nowadays, but seeing that they've made up, that they don't hate each other, they do this. They go through like ebbs and flows, but I just feel like the world is at peace more whenever Kanye and Cudi don't hate each other.
For sure. All right, Jordan. Final
Um,
round pick right here.
I'm going to take a flyer on this one. I really am. And I'm going to go off the wall here because there's one thing that I love, and James knows this. I love a good bass. Like, if you can give me some strong bass in a rap song, man, I listen to it all the time. In my truck, it's turned all the way up, my bass is. And I love songs that just blare bass in my ears. So I'm going Maniac.
That's
I
a great
think-
song.
I mean,
Pick.
it's a
great
really,
song.
really good song, but for me, it's literally the only reason behind it is because I love bass, and that bass hits so freaking hard. When it
Yes.
drops,
Oh God, yes.
it drops, and so
Yes.
yeah, that's got to be my fifth pick.
You went 3 Man on the Moon 2 songs. I knew that you would favor that album. Just a
did like
little
that album more.
backstory. A little backstory. Me and Jordan were living together whenever Man on the Moon 2 came out. That was our freshman year of college. And I skipped class the day that it came out to go buy the album because I wanted to go buy the hard copy. And Jordan played that album in our dorm room so much that at a point I looked at him and I said, "We've got to listen to something else." And that's unheard of. Me, like, can we listen to not Kid Cudi? Like,
Yeah.
So it's a great album. It's so good.
Yeah.
And the 3 songs you picked off of there are great.
It's probably not my favorite Cudi album. I mean, honestly, my favorite Cudi album is probably Indicud. I love that album.
Me too.
I really do.
It's really good.
Yeah.
If you want to do some math and figure out how old Jordan and James are, just think that Man on the Moon 2 came out when they were in college, and James, instead of just listening to it on Spotify at midnight, went and bought a hard copy the next day. So
Yeah.
just in case you wanted to do some quick math.
Yeah, just in case.
Spotify and Apple Music weren't a thing at that time.
You
So
had to get the
this was
iTunes
the
gift
year.
cards.
This was the year of our Lord 2010. So,
Listen, Jarrod, we are damn old, and we know it,
I'm
and it's
old
okay.
too.
We embrace it.
I'm old too. I just had a birthday. I'm feeling the effects. I'm old.
yeah, Jordan's got one coming up next month,
Yeah.
and just in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks from today, actually, isn't it?
56.
Yeah.
So
56.
For my final pick, I gotta go with another song that always gets me, excited, always gets me hyped, and I gotta go with King Wizard. I love
It's a
King
great song.
Wizard.
good song.
It's one of those again. It kind of has that vibe. It like makes me want to move around. It kind of gets me like in like a. It's just like one of those songs I can throw on if I'm having a bad day, and again I can go bar for bar with Cudi and just like be in a better zone after that song.
Yeah.
That's
good song.
that's on a great album too.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
It is on
great album.
Indica.
yeah.
It is.
It is.
It is.
Indica might be one of my favorites.
I think
Well,
that's
Indica-
gotta be the one.
Indica has a special place in my heart because that's the album that he was touring for when I finally got to see him.
Nice.
Yeah.
So like that was a
Mm.
big deal for me. And me and Andrew and our buddy Jason that we used to hang out with, we literally drove to Ohio. Like we woke up and my mom rented us a car because she didn't trust my crappy car, and we drove from Kingsport, Tennessee to Columbus, Ohio, and we went to a Kid Cudi concert, and we turned around and came back afterwards.
That's crazy.
Like, and it was so freaking awesome. But now I'm here. I have the last pick, and I'm looking at all these songs I've written down.
Which one are you going to pick as Mr. Irrelevant?
It's so not irrelevant. God, it's so hard.
Which one's going to be your Brock Purdy?
Don't compare. Don't compare any of his songs to Brock Purdy. I feel like I need to shout out some songs that I'm not going to pick.
After you make your last pick, we'll go over and we can talk about some of the songs that were on our list that didn't get picked.
The one that I'm going to say, the one before we do that I'm going to say that's not going to get picked, that is kind of crazy because it's what blew him up, is Day and Night. I'm not going to pick Day and Night. It's a great song. I love it. I don't skip it. I know every word of that song. That is the one song that if somebody held a gun to my head and say you have to recite a song bar for bar or I'll shoot you, that's the song I'm picking. But I'm not going to pick it. I'm going to pick 3 songs off of Man on the Moon, but I can't make a list and not put Solo Dolo on there. Yep. It's so good, and like that's one of those songs. Like the beat is just kind of like eerie, and I think it's one of the first songs. I think it's the first song he labeled Nightmare on Man on the Moon, and it's just like, God, when you're an angsty teenager. Like I was 18 years old, I was angsty. I'm driving around. I got off work from Food City, and I'm pissed because Sue made me get buggies too many times. You're like, like you're just mad about something stupid, and that song comes on, and you just crank it up, and it's just like the dun 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 dun. It's just, dude, it freaking hits so hard. So that's what I'm gonna go with. So many good songs that we didn't pick, but that just kind of shows you.
You want to give a couple of honorable mentions?
I'll do a couple honorable mentions. The first one that I'll say is Ghost, off of Man on the Moon 2. I literally have lyrics from that song tattooed on my body. But that's because those lyrics like meant something to me. But the song itself, like if I'm going to say, like he performed it when I saw him, it's very, very emotional. But I'm trying to balance emotional and like vibes. And I feel like Solo Dolo does both a little bit better. Man on the Moon, like the song Man on the Moon off of A Kid Named Cudi, so good. Solo Dolo Part 3 on Man on the Moon 3, I think has one of the best vibes of any song ever. I mean, I could go on for a long time. Like the fact that none of us picked Pursuit of Happiness is mind blowing.
Yeah.
But I think
that got me.
I think that's because like it was just so popular.
Yeah.
Like it's not that it's not a great song, but
it's one of those that I've like heard so many times now that when it comes on, I will skip it occasionally just because it's like, okay, like I get it, I know this song. A couple
There's
for me.
one song that I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I just have one song that like kind of shocked me because the beat of this song to me is like one of Kid Cudi's best beats. Ashton Kutcher. Like I
Yeah.
think that song goes so freaking hard. I thought somebody would pick it. It's on my list, but it was just low enough to where I didn't pick it in my five. But I think that song. I mean, I do think it goes really hard, and that beat is just phenomenal.
And he raps really fast in that song
Yeah.
too. That's something that
Yeah.
he doesn't always do.
No.
Mhm.
My honorable mentions would be Rose Golden. I love that song. It's another
It's a
one
good
of those
song.
songs that just kind of puts me in my feels. Sad People is another absolute.
It's on my list too.
What a killer song. It's a Kanye feature, but gorgeous. Now Cudi
Oh.
doesn't really make that song that much better, but like Kanye's bars on that, and then with Cudi, like that song is always on my mind. And then I gotta shout out Alive. I do love Alive because it was one song that I used to skip all of the time, and then I hung out with James one day. We were listening to Cudi. That one came on. I went to skip it, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I went back, and then I listened to it, and it like was in my rotation for like a month, just constantly listening to it over and over again. So,
Yep.
all right, that's the
Any more
draft.
that you want to mention?
I mean, I've got a couple more. I've got Wildin' 'Cause I'm Young. That was
Yeah.
a phenomenal song. I mean, again, it came out in like our college days when we were doing a bunch of stupid stuff, so it really did speak to us at that point
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it probably shouldn't have, but it did.
Yeah.
I really liked what is it, Revofev
Revafev, yeah.
was a great song. So that was another one that was on my list. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got on mine.
Well, then you have like songs that are kind of deeper cuts, like "Embrace the Martian," "Maui Wowie," "Mojo So Dope" off of "Man of the Moon 2," "Immortal" off of "Indica." I definitely scream sung that song a couple of times. And then "Tequila Shots" for "Man of the Moon 3." Just the vibes in that song starts the album off really good. But I think that we have strong lists. So let's go and recap our lists for the viewers, and then we can talk about what we think is the strongest before we go on to a little bit of sports ball. Jordan, you go ahead and recap your list first.
I've got Bees featuring RZA. I've got Brothers, Erase Me with Kanye, Trapped in My Mind, and Maniac.
I've got Mr. Ranger. Shoot, now my thing's all backwards right now, but I've got Mr. Ranger, Reborn, The Pale Moonlight, Just What I Am, and King Wizard.
And mine is Cudi's Own, The Prayer, Soundtrack to My Life, By Design, and Solo Dolo.
Man, By Design was such a good one. I'm mad that I didn't get that, I'll be honest.
Dude, the beat. I could just listen to the beat of that song.
I'll be looking to trade, when his contract's up on that one, I'll be looking to trade. I can't believe nobody picked Marijuana.
Yeah, Marijuana's a great song too. That was another one that I liked.
Yeah,
it
that was one of those when I was younger. I would listen to and be like, "Oh yeah, this is
I'm so cool.
This is me, bro. Like, yeah." but it is a good song though. Also, the camera.
It is really good.
If you're watching this, if the cameras just did something weird, I don't know why Discord did that, but it just put me on the bottom. So.
Well, I think that's strong. Any of our listeners that if you're an avid Cudi listener, or if you're a casual Cudi listener, let us know. Tell us in the comments below this video, who do you think has the strongest lineup? And if we missed out on some songs that you think that we should have included, even like maybe you're like, they didn't even mention so and so in an honorable mention. I could have made this list and it could have been back and front like to a bunch of pieces of paper, but I'm trying to keep it down. So let us know what you think about this. And we're going to take a quick little break here, and then we'll come back with what our normal viewers are looking for. All right, welcome back. Before we get started on some sports stuff, if any of you listeners liked what we did with the Kid Cudi draft, please drop some comments in under this video and let us know what other artists you think we should do. If you are one of my students or one of my former students and you say some like new school crappy rapper, we're not going to do that because none of us like bad music. But if you are a person of taste,
I would do an Ice Spice draft. I'm just saying.
Stop.
Can we do some like Blake Shelton or Reba or something?
Dude,
Like...
Reba? I would go crazy for some
Let's
Reba.
go, baby.
Bro.
Shania? Let's
Oh,
over, dude.
I'm standing up for Shania. Bro.
How about a little Garth Brooks action?
Come on,
Yeah.
bro. Brooks and Dunn? Come on, Andy.
Yeah.
You just let me know.
But for sure, give us some feedback on some artists you think that it would be fun for us to do a draft like that. Did a lot of studying for this one, and by that I mean I played my curated playlist that I made for myself called Cudi Classics.
We could also open the door to more drafts as well. Like, even if it's not like artists, if there's anything else that you guys like think would be funny or cool, or if we come up with something else and it seems like you guys liked the draft idea, we can always do more drafts.
Absolutely, we're looking to expand this. We're, as you know, by the lack of us posting videos, we had an unreleased episode, but like all of us weren't on there. Jarrod was super busy. He told me he was going to edit it, and by the time, and when he said that, I was like, "Don't worry about it. We're about to record another one," and then we didn't. So maybe things like this can keep us more engaged, even if it does look a little different, because I'm still having a lot of fun with these two fellas right here, the J Squad.
I'm better than Austin, so it's fine. Like,
and you're and we don't have to wait for Andrew to record when you're with us,
exactly.
so it's perfect. So we're gonna jump right into sports here. I'm going to address the Philadelphia Eagles first. It's weird because the last time we did a podcast that was actually posted, we had just beat the Cowboys, and things were looking great, and things just fell off a cliff. I'm one of the people that was calling for Nick Sirianni's head and wanted him out. They fired both of the defensive coordinators that served. They fired the offensive coordinator, which was necessary. I hope that Nick proves me wrong, but I feel like already with the hire of Vic Fangio as our DC, it's a similar defense. Desai and Jonathan Gannon are both disciples of Vic Fangio, so I feel like it's going to be more of the same. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope that we go out. I would really like. I know that we interviewed Cliff Kingsbury. I would like to see him run our offense because he's good at scheming receivers open. But very disappointing. Can't say that I'm surprised. Can't say it's not something that I felt before with the Eagles. But it really hurts me because I feel like Jalen Hurts deserves better. Devontae Smith deserves better. Jason Kelce over anybody else deserves better. Man. So
shout out to my dad real quick. When I was on the phone with James pitching the draft idea, the first thing my dad said is that James? I said, yeah. He said, you guys should fire your head coach. And then
I said, I agree.
Out of the room.
The thing about Nick Sirianni is, like, I know that they're not going to fire him because it's too early on. They were in the Super Bowl just last year, but he lost the team. When you lose the team, like, you can't come back from that. You can try, but it's going to be very difficult for him to come back from losing the team. You could tell from the body language of Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert, all these guys. They didn't believe in their head coach. If you don't believe in your head coach, you're not going to have a successful team. I think if they have a bad year next year, even a bad start, say they start 2-5, 2-4, he's gone. He's on the edge. Like, he is. I mean, and I don't really blame them for not firing him yet because, again, they were in the Super Bowl a year ago, so you can't. I understand that you can't do it yet, but he's lost that team, and unless there's some way for him to gain it back, I just don't know how he keeps his job throughout. Yeah,
I said that to one of my coworkers this week. I said, if we don't do well next year, I don't even know that he makes it through the whole season. Yeah. Like, if we're about halfway through the season and we're 500, even, like, he could be gone because the roster that we have is stacked.
Like, he could be gone after 5 games.
Yep, for sure. But I'll toss it over. Speaking of disappointing teams, you can tell that Jordan is not wearing the clothing of a disappointing team, so I'm going to go ahead and let him talk about that.
I mean, there's not really much to talk about because it's the same damn thing every year, and I'm so tired of it. And everybody in the comments is probably be like, oh, bandwagon. Number one, we've been talking about Baltimore since the start of the season, so there's nothing bandwagon about it. Number two, when you were rooting for a team that you know what to expect, you can't have enjoyment. I love football. I love it. The Cowboys are making me hate football. And when you start to realize that I hate something that I've loved, you can't love that team anymore. And I have nothing but disdain for the Cowboys. And I literally have a trash bag full of Cowboys gear right here. And the night that we got our asses kicked by the Packers, I threw all my stuff in that trash bag because I was just done with it. Because Jerry Jones is never going to change anything. Dak Prescott is not the guy. Mike McCheeseburger is not a head coach. He's just some fat guy that stands on the sideline. And I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just a poor run organization. And I look at this, and the one thing, James can back me up on this, I love defense. The Cowboys should have the best defense in the NFL. You look at them man by man, they should have the best defense in the NFL. Well, apparently not, because Jordan Love picked them apart. Jordan Love. I'm not saying Jordan Love's bad, but it's not like prime Aaron Rodgers. It's not like Tom Brady. It's not like Patrick Mahomes. It is Jordan Love in your home stadium, and you get picked apart like that. I mean, I'm not going to be embarrassed like that anymore. I love Lamar Jackson. I love the Baltimore defense excites me. I love John Harbaugh. So let's go Ravens, and let's end this Swifty madness.
Yeah, and if you follow our Instagram page, you know that like pretty early on in the NFL season, I posted a poll on there that said who should Jordan root for, Ravens or Cowboys, and it was like 78% Ravens. So
yeah,
for
and
those
James
of you who went
were
Ravens
pushing for it heavy
all year long.
Yeah.
All year long. He'd be like, oh, he'd say something about us or like we, and we'd be like, the Ravens aren't playing. What are you talking about? The Ravens played, you know. So we were very happy about it. But I'll be pulling for him this weekend. Sorry, Steve.
I won't be pulling for him this weekend.
I know that.
If we got to be honest, like, you know, the Chiefs defense versus the Bills, if they show up like that in Baltimore, they're going to get decimated. They will get picked apart and destroyed. They looked awful. They looked so bad. They like their attack against the run game of the Bills was literally a disgrace. It was embarrassing to watch. And then too, like with their offense. Now, I'm not a sports guy by any means. I don't know names of players and stuff like that. But even like a lot of the ball handling, like it's not their main running back for the Chiefs. It's the secondary. I don't know.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah.
Dude, every time he touched the ball, dropped
Hold the ball.
Every single time he would drop the ball, and it was ridiculous. And I feel like if they show up like that in Baltimore, it's going to be a rough day to be a Chiefs fan. Now I'm gonna have to cheer for them. I don't want Taylor Swift I do.
You don't have to.
I'll get kicked out of my parents' house. I don't want Taylor Swift to be at the Super Bowl. I really don't. Now, Jason Kelce could be cool at the Super Bowl. Like that's
that would be cool.
You know, he was shirtless in Buffalo, and it was like freezing cold. That was pretty sick. But it's just one of those things. Like if they played the way that they did against the Bills, you know, last weekend, it's not going to go over well for them, like at all.
No, you can't rely. You can't rely on a missed kick against the Ravens because Justin Tucker is not going to miss that
Tucker
kick.
won't miss a field goal. But I think you brought up a good point, Jarrod, when you talked about the running game of the Bills running all over the Chiefs, because they did. And an interesting fact is the Bills had the number 27 rush defense in the NFL this year. Very close to the bottom. You know who number 1 was? So if the Chiefs are going to allow that kind of running game against the Bills, the Ravens might run for 300 yards. So you're right. They need to turn that around big time and fast. And another thing you were talking about, them dropping passes, them fumbling balls and stuff like that. Well, Baltimore was number 1 in turnover differential as well. So if you start turning the ball over, Baltimore's going to take advantage. I think Kansas City's got to play literally a perfect game. And I'm not saying they can't. But I think they have to play a near perfect game to beat Baltimore.
There was so many stupid mistakes, like with the touchback that happened in I think it was the third quarter. Like that's one of those things where it's like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, that cost you the game. You just lost the game right there because of a stupid mistake. Like like you said, I don't think if they show up and play Baltimore like that, it's done. Like it won't be close. Like they have to show up and put their best foot forward and play the dang game.
The one thing that Kansas City does have going for them, they have a really good defense. Like I know against Buffalo they didn't look like they did, but they really do. And they can get pressure on Lamar Jackson, but I don't know if that's really a good thing because I don't think you want to get pressure on Lamar Jackson. You want to make him throw the ball. You don't want him out of the pocket because he's the most dangerous when he's out of the pocket.
Exactly. And they couldn't stop the Bills quarterback. When he got outside of the pocket, he was getting steady yardage every single time, and they couldn't do anything about it. So I feel like the more that you rush Lamar and the more he gets outside of the pocket, you're in more trouble at that point in time, like realistically.
Yeah, I thought about that too. Like how many, most of Josh Allen's big runs against them came on like broken plays. but they allowed him to gain as much yards as he did on the ground and have a fairly decent game. If you are having a hard time containing a quarterback's legs, the Ravens aren't just going to be doing this on broken plays. They are designing plays to let Lamar get out in space and run by people. So it's going to be really interesting. I did think Mecole Hardman's stat line was pretty funny. He touched the ball twice and he fumbled the ball twice. He caught a short pass, like a screen, and he fumbled. The Chiefs ended up recovering. Yeah. But then he fumbled it out of the end zone. And that's another thing that people like. I'm so freaking tired of people complaining about the touchback rule. Don't fumble through the end zone.
Seriously, like you have to have some sort of like I think it's dumb because it's one of those things that like say you're diving between two defenders, you're at like the 5-yard line, you're trying to dive between, you can reach the ball out, right? The ball's going to get punched out, it gets punched out the back of the end zone. They're like, "Oh, we'll take it back to the 5-yard line." You have to have some sort of punishment for not having strong enough hands to reach the ball over there. Or guess what? Just take your medicine and hold the ball like this and fall down at the 2-yard line.
Or if you're gonna know the risk, know the rule. Right. It's risk reward. You're either gonna reach the ball out and you're gonna score a touchdown, or it's gonna get knocked out and it's gonna be the other team's ball. You know the risk,
right?
And that's exactly what Hardman did. So you don't reward them for fumbling out of the end zone. That's ridiculous. No, because if you fumble out the back of the end zone, let's say you fumble 10 yards ahead of you in regular play, the other team's gonna pick it up.
Right. Yeah.
9 times out of 10. So you don't get to be rewarded because people want to piss and moan about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I think it's going to be, in my opinion, the best of the two games this weekend. We got two games. So. I just think that these two teams, it's literally Baltimore versus Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
I think Patrick Mahomes has to be literally brilliant. And if he's not, what else do the Chiefs have? They have a defense that is good, but they look suspect against the Bills. They have a running game that is good, but they're also going against the number one rush defense in the NFL. So it's literally Patrick Mahomes, and if the Chiefs win, it is going to be a masterclass by Patrick Mahomes. But
I'll be interested to see if they match up Kyle Hamilton on Travis Kelce this week.
I think they will because, I think it all depends. If Marlon Humphrey's back, I'd be tempted to put him up because he does have size. They can compare with him. But yeah, they play a lot of man defense, and I think that's going to be really good. That's going to fare well for Baltimore because the Kansas City receivers aren't very good. No. And so, and the Bills are playing a lot of zone defense, which Patrick Mahomes can just pick that apart.
You can pick that apart. Yep. So before we go to the next
projections,
that's what I was going to say. Let's do some predictions.
Yeah.
Looking at this game, I think that when you look at their rosters, it's pretty evident who has the better roster from top to bottom. Neither team has a receiving core that's going to blow you away. Zay Flowers is a very good player. I've been high on him since he was drafted by the Ravens.
It's also Nelson Aguilar season.
Hey, see, Nelson Aguilar, I have PTSD being an Eagles fan. Rashad Bateman, Odell, he's old. It's not.
Mark Andrews back. Mark
Andrews is coming back. That's what I was going to say. Both teams have, you can say that Rashee Rice is the equivalent of Zay Flowers to the Chiefs. He's not as good, but he is a very good, promising young receiver. And both teams have very, very good tight end game. So the offenses, it's fairly comparable than two of the best quarterbacks in the league. The offenses are fairly comparable. Both defenses are very good. But top to bottom, the Ravens defense is unbelievable. Being somebody that coaches defense at the high school level, it is an absolute pleasure to watch them play football. Yeah. So I think that's going to be the difference in this game.
With 4 people, how do you get that kind of quarterback pressure with 4 guys?
Yeah, and I like the way that they shift pre-snap. You'll have you saw that really affect the Texans last week with a lot of those false starts. The movement that they had up front, and then once they started getting pressure, it really got them on their heels. So I think the defense from the Ravens is going to be the difference in this game. I have the Ravens winning 27-17.
See, the thing is, I have it so similar that it's ridiculous. I think the first half is going to be very low scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if we went to halftime at 10-7 or something. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Chiefs were winning. Baltimore is statistically a slow starting team, but the second half they've outscored opponents by 150 points. It's wild. So I think that in the second half you're going to see a lot of changes from Baltimore, a lot of throwing from Lamar, less than running, because the Chiefs are going to come out expecting him to be running and trying to get out of the pocket. Lamar has really progressed as a pocket passer, and with Mark Andrews back, Isaiah Likely getting to where he is now, Zay Flowers, I mean, I think the offense is really going to play well. I have Baltimore winning 34-20.
I don't want to have to do it, but somebody has to be the evil in the podcast. And like I said, I'll be disowned, and my dad will never grill me a steak again if he listens to this and I pick Baltimore to win. So shout out, Steve. I love you. I'm going Chiefs.
I do too.
I'm going
I love
Chiefs,
Steve too.
and I'm taking James's scoreline, but I'm flipping it. 27-17. We're going with the Chiefs. It's
I'm
not
gonna be
going to
honest.
happen.
I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm also ready to stop seeing Taylor Swift on my TV whenever I'm trying to watch football.
No, I agree. I mean, it's one of the more annoying things ever, and
Mhm.
I mean, I can't stand the fact that every single time Travis Kelce touches the football, they have to cut to her in the booth. I
Yeah.
don't give a. I didn't want to have
Also-
to bleep it myself, but you know what I'm saying. I don't care.
Mm.
I just show the
Br-
football game.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I'm
that
not
she's
trying.
there.
If I wanted to watch Taylor Swift, I go to a concert. Also,
I
Brittany
wouldn't do that.
Mahomes. Come
Oh,
on.
come on.
How can you even like I don't hate Patrick Mahomes. I think he complains a little bit too much about the refs, but man, you could do better than that. You could do better than
That's
that.
a crazy
She's
comment.
psychopathic, bro. Like
That's
she's
crazy.
crazy. She's
You've been riding or
crazy.
dying with him since high school, but like the video, like the TikTok you sent me this week, Jordan. Thank God I'm not on TikTok and I don't have to see that stuff.
Dude's
but
been
like-
all over that.
Yeah, like she's like, you doubted us, blah blah blah. Like you sit
Like,
in a booth.
What did you do?
We know who you are because your husband throws a football better than anybody else. Like, calm down, there,
Yeah.
Chief. Let's take a couple steps backward.
I
But if
think
the
But
it's-
I
Chiefs
think-
somehow do win this Super Bowl, we have to start talking about Mahomes possibly being the GOAT.
well,
like we
and
do.
Reed going up there and GOAT conversations,
Yeah.
coach. Like
Yeah.
even without like at this point, if he wins, he'll have half the rings Belichick has. But like, God, we were so close in Philly multiple times. Like you see his longevity and him being able to be great with two different organizations, even though he wasn't able to win the big game in Philly. Like he got us to the NFC Championship game so many times, got us to a Super Bowl, and it's not his fault that Donovan McNabb pooped down his leg whenever we got there, and that Adam Vinatieri had the chance to be a hero yet again. So I agree with you. If the Chiefs do end up winning, and if the Chiefs end up in the Super Bowl against the 49ers, I will be the biggest. I want to see Taylor Swift a million times during that game
Agreed.
because I
That
hope
would be
Travis
so
Kelce
hard for
goes
the
off.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
So hard.
So, but
Well,
that'll bring us to the
I think
NFC Championship
really
game.
quick, if you don't care,
Yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
too. Me and you had this conversation the other night. If the Chiefs do somehow pull it out and they end up winning, I think you probably start looking for Andy Reid to also retire. Like I think
Yeah.
it's probably his time, and like
I think
that's-
even if they lose, I think that
Yeah.
he's got to. He's. I mean, I think he's got to start thinking about it.
yeah.
I mean, he's not getting younger. I mean,
and that's gonna suck for a lot of Chiefs fans, but I think it's one of those things that
I
you
don't-
have to. You
I
have to
don't
look
think
at.
it will.
No,
I don't think it will. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to override that. I mean, you saw Bill Belichick is a fantastic coach, but you saw what Tom Brady did whenever he didn't have Bill Belichick. Great quarterbacks can trump having a coach that is great. I mean, obviously their pairing is phenomenal. Patrick Mahomes would be fine. I really do. I really think so.
Yeah. It'll definitely hurt.
It'll
Because,
hurt
I
for
mean,
sure.
Like he's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer whenever that day comes. But I think they'll still be winning some games. You might go through a little bit of a rough patch, even if it's just for a few games. But
They can
Mahomes,
also have their pick of the litter of coaches.
yeah,
for sure.
Name one coach that wouldn't want to coach Patrick Mahomes.
For sure.
right. Like if that job was open,
They
That
get
would be
Ben
the most
Johnson like
attractive.
that. I mean,
oh yeah, exactly.
Ben
Like
Johnson
maybe
meeting.
like I've seen some things that say that Andy Reid is going to retire at the end of the year. Like, what if Ben Johnson waits? Like, or one further before we get to this game, what if the Lions, I pray to God that they do, get to the Super Bowl,
Mhm.
and win or lose, Andy Reid retires, Ben Johnson hasn't been able to take a job, and then that job's open. Then I don't think you take a step back at all there. I think
No.
that might be real scary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that'll bring us to the NFC Championship game. Of course, we have San Francisco 49ers
should be the Packers.
and it should have been the Packers. Freaking on Anders Carlson. God, he's a piece of garbage. But they are playing the Detroit Lions and the Fighting Jared Goff and Dan Campbell's. God, I pray that anybody that'll listen that the Lions win this game. I want the Lions to win. They've been a tortured franchise for so long. I'm so happy for them.
For sure.
I'm happy for Jared Goff. The Lions have been a franchise that were so povertous that they literally led to the retirement of two of the greatest players to ever walk on a football field in Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson. So, like, to see them and to see when they won that first playoff game, to see what it meant to their fans. Like, I know that it's not the same, but when the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018, the feeling that I had and, like, the weight lifted off my shoulders and just, like, the absolute exuberance that I felt when they lifted the Lombardi Trophy, it was something that is hard to put into words. I want that for Lions fans, especially if the Chiefs win. But at the end of the day, like, if I'm picking with my heart, I'm going to pick the Lions. But my head, if Debo is banged up or if he can't play, that's going to be a big deal. But we have seen Goff have a few bad games and throw some pretty bad passes. He threw way too many interceptions against the Bears. And this 49ers defense is for real. Fred Warner and Javon Kinlaw. The defensive line that they have is absolutely stacked.
Chase Young's kind of overrated right now.
Chase Young's not very good. Chase Young got sealed by some like Christian Watson sealed him last week.
Yeah.
I think Jaden Reed sealed him. But like Javon Hargrave is a Pro Bowler, former Eagle. Bosa is great. I hate him. I don't like him as a human being, but he's a phenomenal football player. So I think that the 49ers will probably win this game by a score of 34-20.
I love the story of the Lions. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. This is the worst matchup Detroit could even dream of. Like, everything about this just screams Detroit's going to get destroyed. And, I mean, you talk about Jared. Okay, so the 49ers get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Jared Goff is a statue in the pocket. He's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong. He's really reliant on having a very, very good offensive line, which let's talk a little bit about Frank Ragnow for a second. How about this guy?
Yeah.
Getting his leg rolled up on 3 times in the game against the Bucs. Still going out there limping, getting a huge block against Vita Vea at the goal line.
Vita Vea, who's a unit.
This dude is a monster. This offensive line for the Lions is really good, but they're going up against the second best defensive front and getting pass pressure on quarterbacks in the 49ers. And then you have that secondary, which is extremely strong. You have linebackers, like you were saying, who can line up on Sam Laporta. They can man up Sam Laporta with, any of their linebackers probably. And then you talk about on the other end of the spectrum is the Lions defenses. I mean, they get pressure. Aiden Hutchinson gets good pressure, but the 49ers have Trent Williams to counteract that. Like, it's just everything about this is the 49ers. The Lions are good, but the 49ers are great at that. I think it's going to be a thrashing, and I hate it. I really, really hope the Lions win. I think the 49ers are going to win something like 38-10. Like, I don't see a chance. I think Jared Goff will get sacked like 5 times. I think he'll throw a couple of picks, maybe have a fumble. They're going to run for probably less than 75 yards in this game. I hate it. I don't think the 49ers are the best team in the NFL, but I think that they love the matchup against Detroit. And I think they should.
I'm going with Detroit for my pick. Once again, I'll be the evil here.
It's not evil. That's
evil.
absolutely good.
Honestly, like with what James was saying is like what that would mean to the entire like Lions fan base and the franchise. Like I think that would be huge. I mean, even I remember obviously growing up as a kid, like the Lions were always just like a terrible team, like a team just nobody ever really cared about that much when I was younger, at least. And then, again, I don't really watch sports. So the other day when I was talking to my dad and I realized like that they were in contention for the Super Bowl, I was like kind of blown away. So I feel like I just kind of want to root for them and, hopefully it goes good. I don't really have a score line for that one though.
We're all rooting for Detroit.
We are all Detroit Lions fans. From 6:30 on Sunday.
Detroit fans. But
yes.
I just don't like the matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, I just look at it at an analytical view, and I just don't like the matchup. You never know. I mean, Brock Purdy could turn into a shell. He's done it before.
He
did it
sucks
against
whenever he
Green
gets
Bay.
pressure.
Hell, he
So-
did it against Green Bay. He did not look good until the last drive against Green Bay.
Mhm.
So
Take away the 5-yard check down. Make
Yeah.
the kid throw longer than 10 yards. That's what you
Also,
do.
Detroit kind of sucks at stopping the run. I think C-Mac might go for at least over 100 yards. Like,
Yeah, I hope so. He's in my DK lineup this weekend. So
that's smart. I think he's in mine too.
yeah. So yeah, but it'll be interesting to see. We'll try to convene next week. If we can't get the other two to hop on here, maybe we can get Jarrod to hop on here with us again.
If you need
Just to
me,
kinda-
I'll be there. That's what a good producer does.
And
That's
that's
my
why
guy.
we love producer Jarrod. For those
The
of you all
cutest
who have been
producer
waiting for an
ever.
episode, do what?
So the cutest producer ever.
He's the cutest producer ever. For those of you all who have
Maybe
been
I
waiting
won't
for an
be here next
episode,
week.
we're happy to be back here doing it. I've had multiple students. I have one student in particular who will walk by my classroom or walk by me in the hallway and go, "A squared, J squared. Where's it at?" And then I have a kid in my A-Push class who said that I told him we were recording an episode. He's like, "I can't wait to listen to it this weekend." I was like, "Well, it probably won't be out this weekend." But that's beautiful.
Shout out Macy for this.
Yeah,
She
that's
made
what's
this,
up.
my niece. Beautiful.
It's awesome. But we're hoping to get into more of a flow, whether it looks a little bit different than it has in the past. If our compadres can't get on here with us.
That's phenomenal. Oh my god.
Oh man, nobody will think that's as funny as we do.
Holy crap.
That was good stuff. But we're hoping to be a little bit more consistent with this. Like me and Jordan are committed to doing this. Austin works weird hours, so he's not able to do it. Andrew's got his stuff going on, but me and Jordan will make the time to provide content for y'all. Whether it's 10 people, we're happy to do it. We like it, and we've got the best producer in the game helping us out. So
Yeah. We
Glad
have
to be
fun
back.
doing it. We don't just do it for you all. We do it for us because this is
Yeah.
fun. It's fun.
we enjoy it. Yeah, for sure. What you don't know is like every Sunday during NFL games, we get on Discord anyway and we talk. But it's been hard to find the time to record a pod. But I'm glad to be doing it again. Before we get off here, I want to give a quick shout out to one of my former students. He is an adult now. He's graduated, so I can shout him out. His name is Caden. He's the one who bought me this shirt for Christmas a couple of years ago. Caden, if you're listening, if you're watching, I appreciate you. Thank you for the shirt.
Shouts
So
out you. Shouts
glad
out
to be
Ron
back.
Coffee.
Shouts to Ron Tarby. Whether you're a Cudi fan or a sports fan, we're glad to have you here, and we'll see
Seriously,
you next
give us some feedback. Let us know what we need to do. Like I said, we're open to anything. Hell, we'll do movies. We'll do TV shows.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Just let us know. We're open to anything. Whatever you all want to see, our ears are open, man. Let us know.
I think the idea of just kind of any draft like this it's a fun idea. I think there's a lot of
Mhm.
different angles that we can play it at. I
Yeah.
even think maybe like come March Madness around that time, like we do a draft of college basketball teams, and then like out of our list of 5, we see who goes the furthest in our draft. Kind of.
We're
thing.
we're doing
Yeah,
masketology. Masketology.
Masketology again.
I mean, if Miami's in it, we know who's going to win.
Yeah,
How are you
that's-
going to stop
we
a
can- yeah,
hurricane?
We can make a exception where we like don't include them since they won last year and they're like an unstoppable force, and then it'll get really interesting.
Fair enough.
I think we rethink masketology and come back with it a little bit stronger and better this year. It was great last year. It was a ton of fun, and I even not being a sports guy, I plan on watching March Madness this year so I can at least have something going forward to talk about.
And North
Sure.
Carolina's good this year. Go Heels.
LSU sucks.
I'm cutting that part out.
Jarrod,
Come
we
on.
appreciate you joining us, man.
Of course.
Thank you as always. It's always fun doing one with you.
Of
And
course, guys.
it's good to know that if we need somebody, we can always call
Always.
cute ass intern Jarrod over there.
Intern. I was producer 5 minutes ago, and now I'm intern.
No, he's producer.
The
Jared.
salary's the same either way.
Cute ass producer Jarrod. But yeah, the salary's the same.
But yeah, always if you guys need anything, I'm always happy to help. So
Much
Got to
appreciated.
bring the pod back, guys. Got to bring it back.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
for sure. For sure.
Definitely. All right, guys. Until next time, thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Comment away. Tell us what you want to see. And we'll catch you on the flip.